It's time
It's
for
time, Zane!
it's time, Troy. Can you believe it? It's time
Yeah!
for another action reaction mini-sode, which is, god damn it, I know exactly what all of you have been waiting for. And it's what we've been waiting for all week since we watched our did our last episode and watched our last movies, which of course were centered all around breaking the fourth wall. And um Troy made me watch Seven Psychopaths, and I made Troy watch Hate or La Haine. And I know that I ended up having a lot of fun. And Troy, I'm assuming you ended up having a lot of fun too, right?
Yeah, fuck out, Zane!
I know
Ah,
black and white 90s crime French dramedies in French or drama action movies in French are like exactly the best way to have a good party time.
yeah, that I had a bunch of friends over. We were barbecuing and just watching Hate.
I mean, to be fair though, I gotta say, most of that movie is actually pretty fun.
Yeah, it is. And do we want to start with the bummer movie and move on to the fun one?
Yeah, let's start with the bummer movie and move on to the fun one. Well, I get to be excited, and I'm going to try to convince you to be excited too, because I want you to embrace good art and be excited about good art, because fuck if you're not, I'm just going to be torturing you for weeks on end.
Right. And you know what? I actually did kind of like this selection, because I feel like there's so much of like the either self-reference or self-awareness of movies really started in like early mid 90s when people were consuming enough of this because we had VCRs and people could actually watch, like, yeah, people could consume too much pop culture at that point, and they did. And that's where we get, like this amount of Clerks, which is nothing but a guy who consumed a bunch of stuff, looked too close at it, and had people have dumb conversations in black and white about it.
Yeah, I mean, it also helps too that it's right after the 80s, which really got into the whole binge of new Hollywood blockbusters and what a modern blockbuster looked like. That's when you start getting your Die Hards and your Lethal Weapons and stuff like that. And that's when like the modern Hollywood blockbuster industry started its churn. And so by the 90s, you start getting responses to that. And it's very much a response to that era.
Yeah. And not to jump straight to the ending, but do you know what the ultimate ending of Clerks was that they filmed?
was it what's his name? Oh, damn it. Now I can't remember the main Clerk's character's name.
Dante.
Was it Dante getting shot in the head?
It was.
Oh, okay.
Just somebody walks in and murders him after Randall leaves. And thank God they cut that out of the movie, because otherwise you end up with basically La Haine, where you spend some characters and like really understanding the depth of their lives. And just because it's some friends hanging out and talking and having conversations, and they just die.
Yeah. I mean, it's a major theme in the movie. It's not how you go along. It's how it ends.
Yeah. And it was kind of a downer throughout the movie because most of it's fairly fun, but at the same time, you could see that they were really clearly, in a lot of ways, positioning Hubert and Vince as just very opposite reactions to the circumstances of just, poverty in France. and there's just so many scenes where you see them on like opposite sides of the frame and Saeed in the middle of it. And it's a little on the nose, but it's also setting up that like, okay, either these guys are going to completely resolve their characters by the end of this day, or those two guys can't survive. Like there's no good ending.
You got both though.
Yeah.
They both
Yeah.
they resolved their differences and then they didn't survive. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, you had to at least relate to the gallery scene, right? When they go to the art gallery to look at art.
Oh, I've been there. That was one of the most frustrating parts of the movie. Is every scene there is somebody who's just like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to keep escalating this problem. I could walk away, but instead I'm going to make everything worse in a very obvious way.
Oh, it's so true. That and the scene where they go visit the dude in the apartment right before that. Just I love those scenes, both of them.
Oh, me too. And in the version I had, the subtitles, and I looked this up because I was confused. That character who you referred to as Asterix is named Snoopy.
Yeah, and that's the Americanized version of it because they realized that American audiences probably wouldn't know who Asterix is, so they just chose an American equivalent.
Yeah, I pieced it together when like they also edited it in like Charlie Brown, and I'm like, all right, so there was clearly some cultural thing that was missing here. Got it.
Yeah, Asterix, because the other one was, this guy says, who are you, Obelix? And those Asterix and Obelix are like two very famous French cartoon characters, comic characters from the, I want to say 60s, may have been earlier than that.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, figured that was just another bit of the, you were framing this as being breaking the fourth wall, was that it's pop culture that acknowledges that other pop culture exists within its world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, that, and you know, obviously the several times where they just like look right at the camera and are talking directly to.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But no, yeah, it's I you know, this whole chore you put me through of choosing that, like, I know it's not the most actiony action movie. Sure, they beat up a skinhead. Sure, there's like one of them punches a cop. They get to run from the police and stuff like that. But
and that chase scene was good. That was
was
like well shot. I had fun during that.
The action itself is well done when it happens, but there's not a lot of it. So I tried to make up. I'll try and make up for it next time, and we'll try and, you know, I'll try and make sure that the next one's a little more fun.
Okay.
On the flip side, I got to watch Seven Psychopaths, which I will say, so I saw this movie once right when it came out, many moons ago, and I didn't remember anything about it at all.
Okay.
Only that I didn't remember liking it very much. And as everything you've shown me, it does emphasize both some really amazingly hilarious and cool stuff and some of the dumbest shit put on screen at the same time. Even breaking the fourth wall, totally dressing it down, and like, you know, only imagining it as a screenplay device. The thing with the Vietnamese monk was just the dumbest shit.
Oh, it was so dumb. I did feel like part of it was like, okay, let's make something so ridiculous that they have to follow us through this. And like, it's really there to hold your hand until you realize what the movie's doing to you.
Yeah. It had some real shit like that where it's just like, you know, I don't actually need this. It's like that extra layer of like, we are going to make sure you understand how completely we are breaking the fourth wall as we break the fourth wall all the time.
Yeah.
But
although,
go ahead.
I did, the way I rationalized that into like, oh no, it was actually a reasonable decision, is a big part of the movie is that Colin Farrell's character isn't a very good writer.
Yeah,
So it's like the
that-
one thing he starts out not cribbing from real life turns out to be kind of hack and shitty.
yeah, and that is a minor saving grace. Beyond that, I will say, even including Looper, this may be the most enjoyable thing you've put me through.
Okay.
Because Sam Rockwell and Colin Farrell and Woody Harrelson and Christopher Walken are all fantastic in it.
Right?
And they actually end up having all together a pretty great dynamic on screen.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy how like all four of them had good charisma with each other, whether they were in the same scene or not.
Yeah, that really worked really well. And the parts of the movie that focused on them and gave them a lot of space and time were far and away the best parts of the movie.
So you like the second act?
Yeah, I like the second act. I like the parts that were just Colin Farrell and Sam Rockwell going back and forth. Although I did find the Sam Rockwell having to repeat all of his dialogue over again thing that they kept running joke that they kept doing really irritating.
Yeah.
But the movie, like I say, it's this kind of push pull between that's hilarious and awesome and oh, why am I going through this right now? And it helped quite a bit for my own personal pathos that Sam Rockwell's character in that movie really, really, really reminds me a lot of you, especially when he's trying to describe the movie he wants to make.
I know. I felt like I had to telegraph that a bit.
It is exactly the way that you describe a movie that you just saw that you think is really cool. The whole like graveyard shoot, like finale scene and all that is just too on the nose.
Yeah, and then especially when it gets to the part where it's like but the rabbit gets away because you can't kill animals in movies, just the women.
God damn it. It made me feel way too much as I drink this beer like Colin Farrell's character in that movie, the mediocre alcoholic writer driven to despair by his idiot friend.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So yes, I enjoyed it overall. I am probably going to get a copy and keep it around because it helps too that I like Martin McDonagh a lot as a director. So
And just his style is really quippy and quick. Like it's fun. And actually, one of the things that I realized again after rewatching it was he very well. Okay, both of our movies not great attitudes about women, and I felt like McDonagh was going a little heavy-handed on it, where he does like that Sam Rockwell line, and then also can just being like, you can't write a female character. Like none of these people have any words or anything. And like now I kind of want to go back and watch In Bruges and see how he writes his own women characters.
yeah, I mean, in Bruges, the central female role of the drug dealer, she was actually like a reasonably interesting character. So
Yeah.
it is worth redoing that, but I think it is just more of a general comment on Hollywood action movies and screenwriting at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I more want to go back and see like, oh yeah, no, he actually does create a full character, not just like you said, yeah, it's a woman, they're on the screen.
Oh, that movie. It is delightfully stupid, and because of that, more enjoyable than I remembered. Because I remembered it. I will say this too. I watch just about everything with my wife, but I don't watch the movies that we go back and forth with my wife for this because I have to get them done while I'm at home, and she's at work and whatever. And It probably helped not watching this movie with my wife, who the whole time would just be like, "What the fuck is this shit? Why am I?"
Yeah, I'd say that's probably a good rule for most of the things I suggest.
Yeah, it might be. It might be a good rule.
So, real quick before we want to move on or close anything down, did you have a favorite? Well, two things. Did you have a favorite moment of the movie, and also did you have a favorite Christopher Walken moment of the movie?
I think my favorite Christopher Walken moment of the movie was in the graveyard when when Sam Rockwell's envisioning this and they're all shooting guys. If you see Christopher Walken while he's shooting dudes, he's going like this. He's going like
Oh
the
yeah,
whole time, like
he's
every time he pulls the trigger, he's doing these little Christopher Walken like twitches and shakes.
yeah, he's just peak Walken.
So that is probably my favorite part of that. And then otherwise, I think my favorite scene in the movie is probably honestly the standoff when they tell or when like with the final standoff when Sam Rockwell and Woody Harrelson face off, and Harrelson can't get his gun to work because it's just like the shittiest thing in the world. And they set that up so beautifully earlier in the movie where he tries to shoot the chick and it won't work, and he's talking about how much he loves his blue-handled gun, and that is probably, I think that's probably the best constructed scene in that movie is the build up to that, and where his hitman cohort is like, no, I'm not shooting him.
Yeah. And I thought like the guy not shooting him was so much better because of my favorite Christopher Walken moment in the movie, where there's the like, hands up, no.
Oh, that was also exchange. Delightful.
Yeah, if nothing else, even just that exchange makes the movie worth it to me.
Okay, so couple questions that I have about Len. Favorite piece of graffiti?
Oh, I was too busy trying to read. I didn't even notice.
You didn't notice the "Your mother sucks bear dick" graffiti?
Okay. I only had the subtitles only had translations for some of them, so I probably missed the good ones.
Okay.
I may need to go back and like find an article that just collects those.
Also, favorite random surreal moment inserted in that movie? You have one?
Oh, my favorite was when the "my wife left me" meme got started in this movie by that Kurt Vonnegut looking motherfucker. That just made me so happy. And I couldn't stop being like, no, that is Kurt Vonnegut. It has to be. It looks just like him.
Oh, it's a lovely movie. I'm just sad that that director has only gone on to make trash ever since that movie.
Well,
it makes me sad.
Well, since we started this out with a comparison to Clerks.
Yeah, that's true. On that note, we will be back.
Real quick, we got to get my favorite line of this movie out there.
Okay.
And I had a couple, but I think at the end of the day, I have to go with when he calls the cop Dickless Tracy. That's so good.
Amazing.
And anything that reminds me of like the Ghostbusters scene of like, but Dickless over here, it's true. This man has no dick. That's so.
I love that movie. I do. It's like, it's depressing, but you don't, there's so much more to it that isn't depressing.
Right. You get like the moments of levity, like when he ganks the hot dog at the rooftop party. That was the moment where I was like, yeah, no, I'm rooting for him.
Totally. All right. On that note, then, on a much happier note, we will be back in just a few days to talk about our next theme, which, can you remind me of what the theme is? Because I keep forgetting.
It is the preservation of the state, and that is somebody ringing my doorbell that I do not know who it is.
All right. Well, on that note, we will close the show. See y'all again.
With a mystery.
You can find me on Twitter at TheZaneTime. You can find Troy on Twitter at PDLMMA, and we will be back in just a few days.
Bye, everybody.